Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to the participants. Ladies and gentlemen, please all stand for our national anthem.
Okay, please be seated. Now, I would like to thank as well to firstly the AMER Event, which is Professor CPR dan Dr. Mary Aminah, in the one of the next is the Prof. himself, the corporate chair, the Professor Dr. Magellan. Next is the corporate chair, Professor Dr. Magellan. And to our distinguished speaker, Professor Dr. Magellan. And also to the professors and contributions from various students and assistants. Ladies and gentlemen, we now call our professor of Computer Science.
Terima kasih saudara Adi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Al-Fatihah. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Arrahmanir rahim. Maliki yaumiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. Mari kita sama-sama mendoakan agar konferensi ini akan berjaya dengan sempurna. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Hamdan hamidin, hamdan syakirin, hamdan yafi'u kafi mazidah. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhikal karim wa 'azimi sultan. Allahumma shalli wa sallim ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa sallim. Ya Allah, ya Tuhan kami, segala puji hanya bagi-Mu, ya Allah, Tuhan semesta alam. Kepada-Mu kami berserah dan kepada-Mu jugalah kami memohon perlindungan. Selawat dan salam ke atas junjungan besar Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, pada ahli keluarga baginda, para sahabat dan tabi'in. Ya Allah, kami pohon kepada-Mu akan keimanan yang sempurna, ya Allah, keyakinan yang benar, ya Allah, ilmu yang berguna, hati yang khusyuk, lidah yang sentiasa berzikir kepadamu, ya Allah. Limpahkanlah dan kurniakanlah kepada kami rezeki yang halal lagi diberkati. Engkau lapangkanlah hati kami, Kau satukanlah hati-hati kami. Kau berkatilah perhimpunan kami ini pada hari ini, ya Allah. Semoga ianya diterima sebagai satu perhimpunan yang hanya mengharapkan keridaan-Mu, ya Allah. Kau pandanglah kepada kami, pada usaha kami yang kerdil ini, melalui 10 Asia Pacific International Conference on Environment-Behaviour Studies AicE-Bs2022 Kota Kinabalu sebagai wadah satu usaha yang mulia di sisimu. Kau kenakanlah perjumpaan ini dengan bimbingan yang berterusan, ya Allah. Bantulah kami, bimbinglah kami untuk meneroka alam ciptaanmu yang amat luas demi ke arah kebaikan, kelestarian dan kemakmuran manusia sejagat. Kau permudahkanlah untuk kami terus menjalankan aktiviti penyelidikan di muka bumimu dan menyebarkan hasil dapatan di dalam konferensi yang sedang berlangsung ini dan yang akan dirancang di masa akan hadapan. Kau berkatilah segala usaha kami dan bantulah kami untuk tidak sedikit pun mengabaikan tanggungjawab kami sebagai khalifah di muka bumi ini, ya Allah. Kau padamkanlah dari hati-hati kami sifat-sifat keji yang tidak Engkau restui, ya Allah. Sebaliknya, tanamkanlah di lubuk hati kami dengan sifat-sifat kasih sayang, bantu-membantu dan bertoleransi. Sesungguhnya hanya kepada Engkaulah kami berserah dan hanya kepada Engkau jugalah kami memohon perlindungan. Rabbana hab lana min azwajina wa dzurriyyatina qurrata a'yun waj'alna lil muttaqina imama. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzaban nar. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamualaikum. Assalamualaikum.
Syukur Prof. Hassan, thank you for the recital. Now welcoming the welcoming speech by the conference chair, Prof. Yusuf, please.
Okay, thanks Adik. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. It's nice to be back after starting just about 3 months. And some familiar faces which has been tagging along with us since our Cairo days in 2011. Thank you very much for your loyalty. And also seen some faces from London 2014, thank you very much. Reappearing again. Okay, I will not take long for this speech because I have a session 1 week from now. As you know, we will be having a Q&A, so there are a bit more room for discussions and so forth. But for today, I'm just welcoming you all. Thank you very much for your sacrifices. Yeah. People see travelers as enjoyable people, right? We envy people traveling from one place to the other. But actually, as a traveler, there's a lot of sacrifices that we commit, especially with our families, our time, and so forth, right? Alhamdulillah, thank you very much for coming, making an effort to come again here. And we normally have busloads of participants from the Faculty of Health Science. Can I see? Yeah, usually got represented only 2, yeah? So I always look around, they come normally with a busload in Peninsula. So when they have to fly overseas, they are still in the bus, but it is Airbus. Yeah? Thank you very much. And also, we now have a competitor from the Faculty of Business. Can we have hands? It's a big contingent from the Faculty of Business. So, Faculty of Health, watch out, we've got a competitor now. Anyway, thank you, Prof. Jamal from Faculty of Architecture, who is actually also the advisor for AMER. Thank you very much. Prof. Masran, thank you very much for coming as well. And also special thanks to our keynote speaker from Morocco, and who will also be our co-host in Marrakesh in March 2023. Okay? to the rest of you, thank you very much again for coming. Just a bit of housekeeping for today. We have, as you're aware, we'll have a quick coffee after this, and then it starts at 9:30, 9:45 sharp, for the breakout one. This room will be breakout 1, and breakout 2 will be meeting room number 2, which is just slightly away from here. And for your lunch will be just beside around meeting room 2, which is meeting room 4, that's for lunch. Then we come back here for our keynote in the evening. Okay, so before lunch, hopefully we can have a group photo shoot outside the building. Okay, so till we meet again. Oh, okay, I forgot about the dinner. Dinner is at 8 o'clock. But you please, just come before 8 o'clock to get your seats there, right? So I'll see you again during dinner time. Thank you very much. Over to you, Adik.
Okay, thank you, Prof. We now invite AMER Advisor, who is also the Dean of FSU UiTM, for the opening speech. Professor J, the floor is yours.
Terima kasih. Terima kasih, Cik Adik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And very good morning to everyone, physically here as well as online. So I'm here. The task is about 5 minutes opening speech. And thank you, Professor, for giving the pointers here. So this is like the 10th AicE-Bs 2022 Kota Kinabalu, and this is like the Asia Pacific International Conference on Environment-Behaviour Studies. So Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning again. So kami amat bersyukur kehadirat Ilahi kerana dengan keizinan yang dapatlah kita berkumpul lagi sekali lagi untuk berkonferensi kali ini di Kota Kinabalu. Dan like to greet conference chair, Professor Yusof. Well done. This is your 38th conference. Wow. I remember I organized one conference for the faculty, and then after that, wow, it's so tiring, but we have done it for the 38th time. So congratulations. So conference co-chair for Masran. And also like to welcome our distinguished keynote speaker from Morocco, Professor Dr. Fatima El-Fahid. Okay, welcome, Prof. Hope you enjoy your stay. And then you were in UiTM Shah Alam a few days ago, and then so now in Kota Kinabalu. Okay, so I think you have traveled more in Malaysia compared to some of us before this, and also IIC members, AMER board members, professors, academics, and postgrad students. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Selamat datang to AicE-Bs 2020 Kota Kinabalu, and as mentioned just now, it is the 38th International Conference organized by AMER, ABRA, and Center for Environment-Behaviour Studies of FSU UiTM. So for this conference, we have received 91 abstracts, and of those, 84 were approved, and then of those numbers, this time like 100% of the first authors from Malaysia. But we had co-authors from 21 countries. So well done. So it's truly international in a way that the co-authors from 21 countries. And then, of course, the highest would be from Indonesia with 46. Australia 6 co-authors, Nigeria, United Kingdom 4 each, 3 from China, and 2 each from Iraq, Pakistan, United Arab Emirates, and USA. And also we have 1 each co-author from Afghanistan, Bangladesh, France, India, Japan, Philippines, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Sri Lanka, Tanzania, and Thailand. So started to see a few of new country here. I think this time perhaps Tanzania, Sri Lanka, and France for this time, and 2 from the US. So hopefully in Samarkand later on we can have more international, as well as in Morocco. Okay, the papers from those two countries. And in terms of categories, there are subcategories and top 3 most popular: health and healing environment. So 16 papers. Okay, well done, FSK, Sains Kesihatan. 90%, and the second is commercial retail services, environment, hospitality and tourism, and environment 9-ish, and educational learning environment 8. I remember when we first started, most of the papers were from FSCU, but during the past few years, most will be from health sciences, and also followed by business. So I don't know what happened to FSCU. So we give them incentive, like if you are in the top 10, then the faculty give us a cash reward, but somehow we need to push that so that more papers from FSCU as well. Okay. And so those abstracts is transformed into 61 papers, and so this is the highest number so far from all the conferences for 61 papers. Okay. So congratulations to all of you who have contributed. And then before this, the highest numbers were from AicE-Bs in Cerating in June of this year, which was 56 papers, and then the one in Penang in March this year, 50 papers, and Langkawi 38 papers last year, and Kota Baru 31 papers, and Bukit Tinggi 2021 37 papers. So actually the top 6, the highest number of papers were from this year and last year. So we augurs well for this conference, because we keep adding more papers, and also we have more of these international collaborations, okay, number of countries. So that Professor and the team. And then the forthcoming one, I think Professor already mentioned, for the curtain closure for 2022, the 6th Ecole 2022 in Samarkand, Uzbekistan, that will be tentatively 13 and 14 December of this year. And curtain raiser for next year, 11th AicE-Bs in Marrakech, Morocco, 7 and 8 March of 2023. So you can put it in your calendar and then start checking out the papers there. And special thanks for the tireless crew. We've been working very hard, okay, behind the scenes to ensure the smooth running of the conference. So we hope to receive active participation throughout the day, and hope all of us can have enlightening conference for this one. And so congratulations to everyone, especially for the Prof. Yusuf and the team. And thank you, Prof. Fatimah, for flying all the way from Morocco to Kuala Lumpur and then Kota Kinabalu. We are happy to have you here as a keynote speaker. So with the lapas, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I declare AicE-Bs 2022 Kota Kinabalu open. Sekian, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor J. Now, to everybody, kindly be reminded that the breakout session shall commence at 9:45 a.m. sharp. This room is for room 1, which is under Zoom. And for room 2, at meeting room 2, will be under G-Meet. Lunch will be at meeting room 4. Please refer to the location plan that was given earlier. Now, before I release you all for coffee and tea break, I would like to just a quick reminder. Please be advised when someone is presenting, please be advised to silence your phones or any devices. At the same time, if you want to discuss something with someone beside you, if possible, speak at a low volume so that it doesn't disturb, so that it doesn't create disturbance for the presenters. And another thing, for room 1 and room 2, we'll be given a lapel microphone for the presenters. Now, after you're done presenting, don't turn off the lapel mic. Just leave it on the rostrum. Okay, everybody understand? Yes. Okay, so I guess that's all. Now I think we let's go out for our coffee. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dan selamat pagi. First of all, I would like to welcome everyone to this breakout session number 1.
I'm the chairperson for this session, and we have a list of presenters this morning, and since we are a bit late by 5 minutes, so we have to make an adjustment of the time. Yeah, and I hope everyone is over here, and for this breakout, based on the list over here, we have 8 presenters. We will start immediately after this, and I hope everyone of you who are going to present will have already understood the conditions, or the terms that we have already been given to you much more earlier. So shall we start our session by inviting the first presenter, Dr. Sharul Bariah Abdul Hamid. Yeah, paper AicE-Bs2022. Yeah, shall we?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to everyone, the panels and all presenters in this hall. So I am Sharul Bariah Abdul Hamid from the Faculty of Health Sciences, UiTM Puncak Alam. Would like to present my study entitled Breastfeeding Knowledge, Attitude and Practices and its Association with Food Insecurity during COVID-19. So the COVID-19 pandemic increased global food insecurity in almost every country by reducing incomes and disrupting food supply chains. Household food insecurity, which is defined as inadequate or insecure access to food because of financial constraints, has been linked to myriad physical and mental health problems, to poorer chronic disease management, and to heighten nutritional vulnerability among adults and children. But its impact on infant nutrition is less clear. Because breastfeeding offers a secure, low-cost, optimal food supply for infants, many health policy and public health programs promote it as a key strategy to protect vulnerable infants from household food insecurity. However, there is some question as to the extent to which women struggling with food insecurity can affect their breastfeeding practices. Therefore, by identifying the breastfeeding knowledge, attitude and practices of Malaysian mothers during COVID-19, it may facilitate health professionals to develop strategies for promoting breastfeeding practices. Hence, this study is aimed to determine the food insecurity during a pandemic and its association with the breastfeeding status among Malaysian mothers. So this graph shows the prevalence of breastfeeding practices in Malaysia and also food insecurity in Malaysia. So as we all can see from here, the exclusive breastfeeding practices in Malaysia is actually far behind from the global target, and as well as the food insecurity across diverse populations in Malaysia has been increased notably, and it is more worsened during COVID-19 pandemic. So the COVID-19 pandemic that has spread rapidly and extensively around the world since late 2019 has had profound implications for food security and nutrition. The COVID-19 pandemic increased global food insecurity in almost every country in the world. The economic chaos due to the pandemic threatens economic access and physical availability of food as a result of movement control order that has been exercised throughout the world. These crises have resulted in lower incomes and higher prices of some foods. So this food insecurity, which is defined as the lack of enough money to purchase adequate amounts, variety and quality of food, act as a potential double burden for low-income women. When food insecurity is severe, there may be prolonged periods of disrupted eating patterns and reduced food intake. So pregnant mothers, for example, were most likely to have to experience poor diets lacking in key nutrients, which will resulted to anemia, preeclampsia, hemorrhage, and also death in mothers. And this household food insecurity also has insidious impacts on the health and development of young children, including increased hospitalization, poor health, iron deficiency, developmental risk, feeding problems, and also behavior problems. So therefore, this can lead to stillbirth, low birth weight, wasting, and developmental delay for children among young children. So this is the methodology of this study, which this is a cross-sectional study involved Malaysian mothers aged 18 to 50 years old with children aged 5 years and below. So the sample size were determined using purposive sampling, which it is calculated to 384 respondents. So the inclusion criteria were mothers aged 18 to 50 years old with children aged 5 years and below, able to read and understand Malay language, and also do not have any chronic diseases that can affect their breastfeeding practices. And this study were conducted online through self-administered questionnaires with including socio-demographic background, breastfeeding profiles, breastfeeding KAP, and also Randimer, Cornell Hunger and Food Insecurity Instrument. So this is the findings of the study. So about 444 respondents were enrolled in this study with a mean age of 30.1 with standard deviation of 3.13 years old. About 96.6% of them were Malay, and then 65.8% of them coming from Central Region of Malaysia, and 74.1% of them were working mothers, and about 95.5% of them had college or university graduates. So about 82.4% of them had 2 children. So this is answering of the objective number 1, which we found that in overall, all the respondents had a good knowledge of breastfeeding with a mean score of 6.8, moderate attitude in breastfeeding with a mean score of 5.7, and good practices in breastfeeding with a mean score of 5.0. So about 34.2% of them had breastfed until age 18 to 24 months. And about 82.4% of them had or will continue to breastfeed until the age of 2 years old. So looking at the prevalence of food insecurity status in this population, about half of the participants, okay, 55.2% of them, were household food secured. However, 25% of them experienced household food insecure, and 12.6% of them experienced individual food insecure, and about 7.2% of them experienced child hunger. So further analysis found out that there were a significant associations between breastfeeding knowledge, practices, and food security status with household income. So for the discussion, mothers who are food secure can continue breastfeeding exclusive until at least 4 months of age. And according to Witten et al., suggests that reducing maternal hunger by enhancing the stability of household food insecurity, food supply, and boosting maternal self-efficacy may increase exclusive breastfeeding practices. And mothers who had a good knowledge and positive attitude play key roles in the process of the breastfeeding. And as we all knew, breast milk is an ideal nutrition because it is safe, clean, and provides all the energy and nutrients that the infant needs for the first months of life. And it has high immunologic properties which act as a protective effects towards infectious disease. So as a conclusion, food insecurity was found to be associated with breastfeeding knowledge. And these findings may provide an insight and facilitate health professionals to develop solutions and interventions for government and non-government bodies in implementing strategies to promote breastfeeding practices among those experiencing food insecurity in preventing child malnutrition. Therefore, efforts should be made to properly advise and support mothers with breastfeeding, even in instance when the mother has confirmed or suspected COVID-19 infection. So with that, I end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, first presenter Sharon Faria. And it has been a very interesting topic, really. And I would like to invite anyone who would like to ask any question, especially those who would be mothers or your own mothers as well. Shall I invite anyone to come up with the first question to Sharon? Sorry.
Okay, it's okay. Thank you.
Ayo, can you elaborate a little bit further on the findings, whether the
Findings.
The situation where COVID-19, those who have already been confirmed COVID-19, yeah? And how the babies, yeah, because your research actually was done is quite recently, and the long-term effect, is there anything that you can predict from there?
Thank you for the question, Prof. Okay. Previously, during the early time of the pandemic, okay, WHO has recommended that mothers who have suspected or confirmed with positive COVID-19 were advised not to breastfeed their babies. But then, after a few moments after that, they found out that there is no studies that were done to say that breast milk of a suspected or confirmed positive of COVID-19 mothers will transmitted to the babies that they breastfeed. So with the positive effects or the benefits of breast milk is actually one of the positive effect is it acts as a protective effects towards infectious disease. So from then they recommend that mothers, even the suspected or confirmed with positive COVID-19, were advised to continue breastfeed their babies.
All right. I think it has been quite clear. Yeah. Maybe for the studies, we are going to do some of the studies with regard to that as well, are you?
Yes,
okay,
sure.
because as a chair, you can only ask one question, so I have to do the application. Yeah, so please. If you can, because we are actually very customers.
Assalamualaikum and good morning. My name is Lisa from Arabian. I have a question. I understand during your presentation that this study is conducted during COVID-19. You are trying to examine breastfeeding practices during COVID-19. What are the expectations in terms of breastfeeding practices when we have curbed COVID-19 cases? How do you foresee this in coming days when we have improved supply of our food in Malaysia and around the globe?
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Doctor, for the question. Okay, this study was undertaken during the COVID-19 pandemic because we want to see what is the. I'm pretty sure mothers all over in Malaysia already have the knowledge. Okay, but we want to see whether the breastfeeding practices is actually being exercised through the pandemic, and we know that mothers who are breastfeeding is expected to have is recommended actually to have a better nutritional status in order for them to produce a sufficient and also a sufficient amount of breast milk. Okay, so along the way when the pandemic has been not really improved, but I guess the income the economic worldwide has been improved. So I can say that the breastfeeding practices is actually also will be improved. Okay, but just to inform, okay, in Malaysia, okay, Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia has conducted a lot of awareness and interventions to promote breastfeeding, okay, among the mothers. However, from the prevalence that we can see in the National Health and Mobility Survey, that we can say that the prevalence of exclusive breastfeeding practices for the first 6 months is actually far behind
from the global target. So it is actually linked to their practices. It's not about the knowledge, it's not about the attitude. The practices, especially for those mothers who are working. Okay, so we are talking about the working mothers, and also for those who having a food insecurity. So these mothers are the one who have to go out and working. So this is the challenges that they might face, which they might find it is quite challenging to exclusive pumping, to express their breast milk and all. So this is the thing that could actually hinder the exclusive breastfeeding practices. I hope I answer your question.
Thank you, Dr. Sharon. And I think due to the time limitation that we're all, thank you very much for very interesting topic and you have already presented. Now, can we have a round of applause to the
Thank you.
So with that, can we welcome the second presenter is J. Nazrul Hadi Ismail. The title for this presentation will be Dietary and Digital Activity Factors in relation to bowel movement frequency among undergraduate students during COVID-19 pandemic. Can we have your presentation?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good morning. Thank you to Prof. Masran, the chair session for today, and to Prof. Fatima, the keynote speaker, and all my fellow presenter and participants for today's conference. My apology to discuss about constipation this morning after your early morning refreshment. Okay, the title of my presentation today is Dietary and Physical Activity Factors in relation to bowel movement frequency among undergraduate students during COVID-19 pandemic. So the study was conducted with my fellow researcher who is Shahda and also Ditasari Putriana from Universitas Aisyah Yogyakarta. So as we know, the first novel coronavirus reported in Wuhan, China way back in December 2019. Then about 3 months later, WHO proclaimed COVID-19 as a pandemic worldwide. And a week after that, the Majlis Keselamatan Negara declared movement control order in Malaysia. So because of this situation, this outbreak resulting a lot of social and physical changes among us, where we have to confine at home because of the situation, and it changed a lot of our lifestyle. Basically, in terms of, especially to those students, they cannot go back to campus to further their study. I mean, to enroll their courses. So they have to do their learning process at home, as well as in terms of behavioral changes in purchasing to get food and whatnot. So in terms of food purchasing, we tend to get, rather than a fresh and on daily basis food supply, we tend to buy processed that the shelf life is longer. Thus, this issue cause a lot of lifestyle and health impact to human health in overall status. Thus, this study was conducted to determine the dietary and physical activity level, as well as the bowel movement frequency among undergraduate students. Then further investigation was done to identify the association between dietary and physical activity level to their bowel movement frequency. So as we know, good bowel movement frequency is defined as the defecation of 3 to 21 times in a week. Thus, if we experiencing bowel movement frequency less than 3 times a week, is defined as constipation. So we have the bowel movement issue. And from a few studies, between 5 to 36% of undergraduate students experience low bowel movement frequency, which in other words, they're experiencing constipation. So there are various factors that contribute to constipation, mainly gender. Women have the higher prevalence of getting constipation compared to male counterpart. In terms of age, the older the individual, the higher they experience constipation. Same goes to body weight. The higher the body weight, the more they experience constipation. And of course, between dietary intake and physical activity, it is proven that poor dietary intake and low physical activity contributed to constipation. So this cross-sectional study was conducted among non-health sciences because some of the question we want to avoid bias in terms of some of the question. So we recruit about 363 students from Faculty of Business and Management in UiTM Puncak Alam. And this study was conducted between December 2021 to February 2022, even though this is far beyond after the MCO declaration, which is about 15 months after the MCO declaration. So we recruit the full-time students via online platform, and we exclude a few criteria which mainly due to medication or activity that already induced their constipation status. So the descriptive analysis was deployed to determine the bowel movement frequency, dietary intake and physical activity level where applicable, and the association was tested using the chi-square test. So we recruited, majority of the participants were female, about 77%. And in terms of the weight status, it is consistent to our national prevalence of weight status, where majority of our participants were in normal weight status. However, about 22% are experiencing overweight and obesity. In terms of bowel movement frequency, majority are okay. About 27 or 28% of the participants experiencing bowel movement frequency of less than 3 times per week. So this is the prevalence is higher if you compare to other study that conducted before the MCO. However, it is consistent to other study that conducted during MCO period. In terms of physical activity level, only about 7% of our participants practicing good physical activity, whereas majority practice moderate or low physical activity level. So this is also consistent to our National and Health Morbidity Survey 2019, where only 5% of our population are physically active. In terms of dietary intake, I present a few data in terms of the calorie intake, protein, carbohydrate, fat, fiber, and fluid intake. So from the findings, protein and fiber shows that the intake of our population is low compared to recommendation. Tak clear.
Kalau pegang mic,
sorry, I shall continue. Okay, the red color shows indicate the low intake, I mean below the recommendation. The green color indicates within recommendation, and the yellow color indicate above the recommendation. So for calorie, majority of the participants intake are in within the recommendation. And carbohydrate shows that the majority of the participants consume adequate carbohydrate. So the further investigation by using chi-square shows that calorie, fiber, fluid, and physical activity shows an association to their bowel movement frequency. This is consistent to other study, and the factors that are associated to bowel movement frequency, which is fluid, physical activity, and fiber intake. So as a conclusion, despite MCO implementation, the participants' intake of total calorie, carbohydrate, and water are adequate. However, their protein, fat, and fiber intake is less than recommendation, where we should do immediate intervention to provide knowledge and enhance students' practice in terms of healthy eating practices. So as this study was conducted using cross-sectional method, so we cannot identify the direct relationship between the factors and also the bowel movement activities. So I think I end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Strong, for very interesting and very surprising to me. A lot of things that you have already, presented this morning. And first, I would like to welcome anyone who asked a question, and either over here or even the virtual audience over here. Please, anyone? From Zoom, anyone? Adit? From Zoom, would like to ask question? No, not yet. All right, in the case then, I'm the privilege to ask question. All right, since that your study, you mentioned that it's consistent with other studies. Yeah, but other studies you've done during the COVID and during MCO, or it is just a general study?
For constipation, so there are studies conducted before the COVID, and also this study by EMAs where conducted in Pakistan was conducted during MCO, after MCO, towards the end of 2020.
All right. So my question number 1.1. So you mean that other cultures have got the same, it seems that the other cultures have got the same kind of result.
Yes.
All right. And finally, my question number 1.2, even if you look at your data, 77% of daily estimates, 77%. How that can be, your results can actually be generalized in the sense, meaning the population.
Yeah, because
that's the Indian and main how we can generalize, yeah, especially in our culture, in English. Whether it is good or bad, I'm not sure how that can be measured, but how can you just mention whether generally this is well our foundation compared to others quite okay or not okay for that matter?
Okay, thank you, Prof, for the question. Indeed, this is the limitation of our study where the sample is not balanced between the gender ratio because it reflects the population in our campus where we have more female compared to male students. Indeed, we cannot generalize in terms of we do not do further statistical analysis to generalize the outcomes. But from this study, it shows that between gender, there are no difference in terms of the mean of bowel movement frequency as shows here. It shows there's no difference in terms of their bowel movement frequency experience. However, if we combine both male and female, it shows that the constipation prevalence is, I can say, is low compared to, it's about 28%, so it's considered low.
Okay, thank you very much, Landron, for very interesting and very surprising to the next time. Thank you very much, and give a round of applause.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we call upon the third presenter. Miss Nurina Muhammad.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to everyone. Thank you to Mr. Chair, Professor Masran. I am Nurfida Muhammad from with my team. I am from Faculty of Health Sciences, UiTM Puncak Alam campus. So today I would like to share the a recent study done by my team entitled The Differences in Critical Thinking and Decision Making Among Critical Care and Non-Critical Care Nurses. So as the research background, the critical care is necessary for nurses to recognize and evaluate their nursing judgment, despite the terminological ambiguity and the absence of the widely acknowledged clinically applicable conceptualization. The critical thinking remains an important area of research. So the critical thinking needs cognitive capabilities such as interpretation, analysis, evaluation, deduction, and explanation of the conceptual, methodological, and criterion-based evidence upon which decision must be made by nurses. So to ensure that patients receive appropriate nursing care, nurses must possess solid clinical decision-making abilities. Using clinical decision-making in nursing care can improve the patient's clinical status. Therefore, the aims of this study to examine the level of critical thinking and decision-making among critical care and non-critical care nurses, as well as to identify the relationship between critical thinking and clinical decision-making and its association with demographic characteristics. So these are the some literature review related with the critical thinking and clinical decision making. So the nurses should constantly review and plan patient care using their critical thinking skills, as well as they need to demonstrate that clinical and for the critical and non-critical care nurses lack critical thinking skills. Other studies indicate that nurses have moderate to average critical thinking for the critical thinking skills, what I mean. So other studies also for the critical thinking abilities of critical care nurses and non-critical care nurses did not differ significantly. So for the clinical decision making, integrates knowledge to control the patient's surroundings and provide the necessary care. So other than that, the critical care nurses must promptly and logically make clinical judgment. Other studies by Mahama in 2016 discovered that the clinical decision-making of critical care nurses was impacted by their working experience and was made together with physicians. Okay, we move on to the research methodology. So this study utilized a cross-sectional research study design, and the samples of the study, the research was carried out in the private hospital in Klang Valley using a purposive sampling method among basically, this is an error because I have the 237 samples of nurses for this study. Yeah, so other than that, the instrument for this study using the short form critical thinking deposition inventory Chinese version, 18 items with 3 using the 5 Likert scales, and the other one the clinical decision making skill in nursing to measure the clinical decision makings, comprised of the 4 subscale using the 5-point Likert scales. And the data analysis was using SPSS as well, so using the descriptive as well as the inferential statistics. Okay, now we move on to the findings of the study. So for the objective number 1, to identify the level of the critical thinkings among critical care and non-critical care nurses. So the result is the among the 18 items on the critical thinking test was found that thinking out of box on the critical thinkings has the highest mean score, which is a 4.03 for critical care nurses and 3.63 for non-critical care nurses. So however, the total mean score for critical thinking among critical care nurses was 3.56. Meanwhile, the mean score for non-critical care nurses in critical thinking was 3.30. Next, we move on to the table number 2. So the result from the descriptive statistics of the level of clinical decision making among critical care and non-critical care nurses had a moderate level of clinical decision making for 3.64 for critical care nurses, while for non-critical care nurses were 3.53. Meanwhile, the total mean score level of clinical decision making for critical care nurse was 3.47. And for the clinical decision making for non-critical care nurses was 3.51. Other than that, the relationship between critical thinking and clinical decision making shows that a positive correlation with p-value 0.001 and R is 0.712. Next, we move on to the next research finding, the relationship between critical thinking and demographic characteristics. So, as you can see in table 3, the relationship between critical thinking and the age of the staff nurse is significant with R 0.309. And then the correlation between critical thinking and marital standing is significant with R value 0.21. Other than that, they have a strong association between the critical thinking and education level and moreover, the study revealed a substantial correlation between critical thinking and working experience with 0.409. Other than that, the correlation between gender and critical thinking also, with R value 0.007. And there is no significant correlation between critical thinking and ethnicity. And next, we move on to the table 4, the relationship between the clinical decision making and demographic characteristics. So the analysis of this result show that the relationship between clinical decision making and the age of the staff nurse is significant, and the clinical decision making also significant with the marital status, as well as the education level. And other than that, moreover, the analysis shows that the relationship between clinical decision making and also working experience. And other than that, the relationship between gender and ethnicity with clinical decision making is not significant. Okay, next we move on to the discussion for this study. The study indicates that both nurses possess a moderate level of critical thinking, and the other study also observed no significant difference in critical thinking between critical care nurses and non-critical care nurses, while Ludin in 2017 discovered that Malaysian critical care nurses had a high level of critical thinking. So the results suggested that both groups of nurses exhibit moderate clinical decision making in clinical situation. Choi and Kim 2015 reported that 52% of nurses in critical care had a high degree of clinical decision making. Other than that, the critical thinking and decision making are interrelated. Dewi in 2021 confirmed that association between critical thinking and clinical decision making. Other discussions related with the critical thinking levels correlate significantly with age, marital status, education level, and working experience, where the age will influence nurses' critical thinking. However, several studies have revealed no correlation between years of working experience and the level of critical thinking, by Ali Abadi et al. 2020 and Mahmoud in 2017. Higher educated nurses will exhibit a high level of critical thinking. For the association between clinical decision making and age, years of working experience, level of education, marital status was identified, where the several studies have identified a correlation between age and clinical decision making capacity. However, study by Choi and Kim found an association between the age of nurses and their ability to make clinical decision making. Some study indicates a correlation between the number of years nurses have worked and their clinical decision making skills. So for the conclusions, critical and non-critical care nurses reported moderate level of critical thinking and clinical decision making and their links. So the level of critical thinking and clinical decision making is affected by age, marital status, level of education, and years of experience. So the older and more experienced staff will be able to think critically and make therapeutic judgment more effectively. Furthermore, continuous education and in-service orientation are advised for the development of effective critical thinking and decision-making abilities among nurses, taking demographic and clinical differences into account. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Ira. Yeah, I invite any questions to Dr. Ira. Hopefully, it will be a very critical.
Obviously, it's not my area. Yes, I want to answer. How do you measure or what do you mean by critical thinking in this context? The critical thinking in your study. What do you mean by that?
Oh, okay. Okay, so it means that measure the critical thinking and clinical decision making from this study using the only questionnaire, because of this is a cross-sectional study design. So under the questionnaire for the critical thinking, so it means that it has 18 items measured with 4 subscale, with 3 subscale, where it has the systematic analysis. So all via questionnaire. So thinking within the box and thinking outside the box. So the questions about how are you going to give nursing care to this kind of persons, for example, the questions. So it means that related to the how the nurses working in the critical care and non-critical care. So it means here for the critical care, it means that nurses who are working in general ward. For non-critical care. So for critical care, it means that nurses who are working in the taking care for a patient with critically ill patients, such as in the intensive care units. So the questions is related to the how the what do you call that? It means that how do you provide this nursing care if there is a problem to a patients. So for example, the patient's result of the blood, certain, and then how do you it means that do you need to call a doctor? Do you need to manage by yourself? That is something questions related. That's how this study measure the level of critical thinking. So both the critical thinking as well as the clinical decision making are measured via using the questionnaire only.
Alright, that actually answered the question by our partner. Is that alright? Any more questions from the audience as well as from virtual audience? Yeah.
Finally, is it what you call critical thinking, medical decision making?
Come again, Prof?
Is it what you call critical thinking, medical decision making, the right decision about a case, what to do or not to do? What does critical thinking have to do with this?
Okay.
Yes.
Any question?
Oh, yeah.
When you are a nurse,
there
are acts that you can do.
Yes.
And there are others that you cannot do.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
So if you cannot, even if your decision is the good decision, it's an automatism. It's not critical thinking or not.
Yeah.
You have been trained to do this when you are in front of this.
Yes. Exactly.
And then sometimes you know what to do, but you cannot do it because you're a nurse, you're not a doctor.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Prof. Actually, that is for opinion also, right? Thank you, Prof. So basically, we as a nurse, there's, as what you say, certain things that we can do, and certain things that is beyond our job scope or job description. So it means here, for example, if we are working in the critical care, so suddenly patients deteriorating. So it means that it requires for us to call a doctor. So while waiting for doctor to come, so we need to critically think what we can do before doctor coming. So this is what we should have for our nurses actually. So we need to think critically and make a good clinical decision making to save patients' life.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Prof.
Thank you. Thank you, Nurullah. I actually have another question, but due to the presentation, I just cannot. I will ask you outside. All right. With that, can we run on to Ms. presentation? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have to call upon our presenter, Dr. Ubi Muflisi. Muhammad Ismail. So,
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh, and very good morning. Okay, thank you, Prof. Masran, for inviting me to share our research study. Okay, this is my topic, validity and reliability of feed for future F4F module towards weight management program among Malaysian adults. Okay, I am Umi Molisi. I'm from UITM Sungai Buloh. Okay, for the background, National Health and Mobility Survey, NHMS 2015, show there is a significant increase in prevalence of the overweight and obesity from 0.6 in 2011 to 2.6 in 2015. This is alarming everyone because overweight and obesity is the major risk for cardiovascular disease. If we are looking at the obesity preventive models in Malaysia, mainly preventive module for obesity is study underage obesity. So it consists of one or mixed method of losing weight. Therefore, we need to come up with one module for the obesity module that can be used among the adults Malaysian populations. So our objective is to develop and evaluate the Fit for Future F4F module for the weight management program among Malaysian adults. Okay, so we know there is a many type of diet regimes. However, there is no standard dietary recommendations. So a healthy balance of the macronutrient proportion is suggested rather than diet based on manipulating macronutrient content, such as low carbohydrate intakes or high protein intakes. And diet management is not only about the diet itself, but it consists of the changing in the physical activities and also energy restrictions diet. We need a nutrition module that comprise dietary and recommendation guideline that can complement with the diet management program to give a better result to weight loss program. So this diet monitoring module can be delivered through digital video disc, DVD, phone calls, commercial intensive lifestyle, or any intervention program. So this is the methodology. Okay, we divide into 3 phases. Okay, phase 1, phase 2, and also phase 3. Okay, for the phase 1, we develop the module itself. So this module comprises the 10 nutrition related sub-module. Okay, and then after that, we go for the content validity. Okay, in the content validity is include 32 items designed through the Google form. And also we invite 18 expert from the nutrition and dietetic field to look for the content, and we got about 12 experts respond to this study, and we do the manual calculation using Low-Shaw and also Noah and Ahmad formula to calculate the content validity index. After the content validity, we do some improvement in terms of the illustrations and also literally of the module itself. And then we go to the phase 3, which tests for reliability. Okay, first they have a 2 phase. One is inter-item reliability and second phase is the test-retest reliability. Okay, for the inter reliability, the inclusion criteria is the Malaysian citizen between the age 18 to 59 years old, have a good English and also BMI more than 22.9 kilogram meter square, and the participant is not on any medication and no physical or mental disabilities. So we got about 55 respondents participate in this study, and we calculate crop back alpha using the SPSS. After 2 weeks, we give back the Google form, which is similar as the inter-item reliability to 55 respondents. Okay, it's come out 23 respondents for the inter-item reliability phase. So for the test-retest reliability, we calculate using the SPSS, calculated intra-class correlation coefficients. and then the module is valid and reliable to be used. Okay, this is the findings. Okay, for the content validation, as I mentioned before, we got a 12 respondent out of 18, and overall, for the content validity index (CVI), we use both Noah and Ahmad and also Lowshaw. It shows that the CVI is more than 0.8. It means that it is appropriate. Okay, but if you are looking at the each module, okay, the highest sub-module come from the module 6. Okay, 0.878 for the Noah and Ahmad, and Lowshaw is 0.879. And the lowest is come from the sub-module 7, 0.778 for Noah and Ahmad, and Lowshaw for the 0.6. Okay, although the Lowshaw show the 0.627, but and the Noah and Ahmad, it shows a good is between the 0.7 to 0.79. We need a revision. Therefore, we do some revisions to the submodule 7. Okay, for the inter-item reliability, we got about 55 respondents. Majority is a female, Malays 90%, and 41% is come from the southern region. Southern region means the participant come from the Johor, Malacca, and Negeri Sembilan. So if you are looking at the Cropbacks alpha, all fall under good, more than 0.8. So again, the lowest come from the submodule 7, but it is more than 0.8. And the highest is come from the submodule 10, is 0.950. And this is the retest reliability after 2 weeks of the first reliability test. Okay, we measure the intra-class correlation coefficients. If you are looking at the result here, all the results fall under fair agreement to the substantial agreement. Okay, the lowest mark is come to the item number 9 at the submodule 3, about 0.442, and the highest is come for the item number 29, which is 0.939 from the submodule 9. Okay, for the discussions, after we did the content validated and also validity, reliability, it shows that this F4F module have a good content validated and is reliable to be used in the weight management programs. This module is based on the nutrition guideline. Okay, so it can be used to complement with the other weight loss program using the physical activities and so on. So we also did the illustration and literally improvement after the content validity and reliability test. However, this is the limitation of this module, that this module is not include the maintenance phase to prevent weight loss, weight gain. Okay, for the conclusions, F4F module successfully developed with a good validity and reliability. Okay, the effectiveness of the weight management programs require guidance from a certified facilitators, and we would like to recommend this guideline to be used under Nutrition Division, Ministry of Health, individuals and also private coaches in weight management program and also teaching purposes. And this module can be combined with other physical activity to enhance weight loss. This module has designed for the IP, okay, intellectual properties, and this is under the UCS grant 2021. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mohumi Mokhusi.
Yeah.
I expect there will be a lot of questions from audience over here, especially with regard to something to do with obesity or this kind of stuff. Yeah, any virtual audience want to ask a question? What? What? No. Okay. So, may I ask one question?
Yes, please, Prof.
Which management program? Okay, is actually being publicly what we call promoted in our country, because not many actually realize that or knowledgeable about this program.
Your question, Prof?
Yeah, so which management program? Is it actually being promoted publicly?
For this module, is it?
And how it's being promoted? Because I think not many actually aware of the existence of such program.
You mean this module or?
Any module that is being organized or being promoted.
So far, I think mainly the weight management program come from the slimming program, which is a more private. But for the national, I'm not too sure as it has so far.
All right, yeah, very much for that.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, we have to thanks Dr. Umid for very insightful presentation and very meaningful to many of us. All right, can we give a round of applause to Dr. So we have to move further to the next presenter, Dr. Wan Marina. Yeah. All right, Dr. Wan.
Assalamualaikum. Yes, I'm Dr. Wan. I'm very sorry for the inconvenience because I have to present in my room actually. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good morning to Mr. Chairman, Professor Dr. Masran, and also my beloved colleagues on the floor. Yeah, I'm Dr. Wan Marina. I would like to present a topic regarding nurses' attitude and preferences toward usage of electronic medical records. Okay. As we all know that nursing documentation is very crucial for the nurses. Fail to do proper documentations will lead a medical legal. Okay, since 1980s, Flora Nightingale keep emphasized that focus on documentation actually is very important. Usage of computer beginning in 1960 in Ministry of Health, and in the 7 Malaysia plan, the scope covers wide health drivers using ICT. So this hospital actually is the pioneer hospital using a paperless hospital in 1990. So we call it is Total Health Information System, or THIS. The justifications that I chose this study actually is because a lot of nurses complain of system down, difficulty in getting a technical assistant, and lack of confidence and fear of using the computer. And also the nurses experience lack of communication with patients, limited computer in the clinical area. Senior nurses prefer to attend to patients than to do the electronic document entry into the computer due to a lack of interest and confidence. And also the senior nurses view computer usage as time and energy consuming and a waste of time. This is my research objective. Yeah. To identify the attitudes of staff nurses in the usage of EMR and preference location while documenting clinical data with the system in hospital. So the first objective, to identify the attitude among nurses. The second objective, to identify the main location of choice during the clinical data entry. And the third objective, to evaluate the relationships between the nurses' attitude and the social demographic factors data. So according to Adam Nelson, 2017, the acceptance level of nurses will successfully implement an EMR program where the evaluation of the nurses' attitude becomes a significant factor in ensuring a successful implementation of the EMR program. According to Hughes, multiple computer systems have been used to provide an accommodative environment in increasing the quality of patient care. And Louise also stated that the main advantage of computer documentation is the easy access to all the critical patients' data and information, thus reducing the time spent and medical professionals to look for them, and then hence increasing the quality of documentation itself. So this is the, I'm using a quantitative descriptive non-experimental cross-sectional survey in the hospital in area Selangor State. The population sample is 138 using a questionnaire, and then the pilot study has been done, and the data collections on 12th February, response time is 10 to 15 minutes, response rate is 100%. Data analysis, SPSS, yeah, okay. So, as we all know that when we look at the graph, there is a positive attitudes among nurses would like to use electromedical records in this hospital. It's about 72.46%, and have just only 27.58% have a negative attitude among them. When we look at the bar chart, yeah, the graph charts, a location of respondent preference during clinical data entry using AMR, they prefer use medications and vital sign charting at the bedside of the patients rather than the station counter, and they prefer more doing discharge or transfer patients, and also do lab results at the nursing stations. Yeah. So this is the relationships between the attitudes and also attending computer training. So chi-square test reveal a relationship between satisfaction domain with attendance of computer courses in hospital. The result is similar at Lee, where it was shown that they are highly motivated and of high belief even though they did not participate in the course. They did not get satisfaction while attending the course, and the impact of the computer course within 2 weeks did not provide satisfaction to attending the nurses. When we look at the relationship between level of educations, there is a significance, yeah, stated by Mondi et al. 2050 have similar result with all three domains are significant. Hence, according to him, an increase in education level can change one's perspective. So when we look at relationship between the computer experience among nurses, there is a significance. So the similar result will get by Liu and Getty, where the experienced people using computer have high self-satisfaction to perform good documentation procedure. So when we look at the correlations between age and length of stay, the output of the Pearson correlation show a significant negative linear relationship between age and nurses' attitude towards MR. As the older the nurses become, their attitude towards MR become more negative, between 40-50. And the output of Pearson relationships between age and the nurses' attitudes, the longer the service period, the more negative they become towards AMR. So in my recommendation for after I spell the outcomes, yeah. So training actually one of the recommendations that I will provide, yeah, to the nurses to expose an early evaluation regarding the usage of computer among nurses, to lengthen the training period from current existing practice, maybe more than 2 weeks. Systematic and effective training needs to be developed according to age, education level, and needs to consider their views and opinion regarding the usage of AMR. To focus on experienced nurses who have been identified in this research to assist in increasing the skill level and interest of other nurses in the shortest times possible. In terms of further research, I would like to conduct maybe a comparison study between hospitals that did not use AMR and related AMR to the nurses' attitude. And of course, research in identifying the knowledge and nurses' skill of the AMR usage needs to be done in the future. I also suggest to identify factors that influence the nurses' attitude to AMR system. In terms of project team, I would like to recommend them to increase the participation of nurses in IT, to create informatic nurse or nurses with degrees in computer science, and to ensure nurses are directly involved in the implementation phase of an EMR projects. And also to ensure nurses, managers, supervisors from all units are involved, and to create a technical support group among the nurses themselves. In terms of domain project documentations, to increase time quality, so reduce workload and increase the quality of patient care, the automation units needs to analyze the documentation workflow in all units to identify the work procedure needed to be given priority to be incorporated into electronic medical record system. And then identify several aspects of effective documentation at bedside and nursing stations location. And further research is recommend identify factors influencing nurses in choosing the right location for them to do documentations in the ward. And in terms of interpersonal relationships, I would like to suggest that human-computer injections needed to increase the interpersonal relationship, even though with the existing of information technology and maybe a contingency plan, we can suggest that to increase contingency step in the case the system is not functioning properly so that the management is still performed properly. To create more technical personnel at ITD to assist the nurses in resolving computer issues or the ward system. To develop special training for the nurses regarding the technical aspect of the system and to increase the number of computers, especially laptops in the ward. And last but not least, the manager, teachers, and clinical specialist nurse have to work together in implementing THIS or Hospital Information System according to each expertise to realize the government's visions aligned with the globalization's era of the high technology. And the conclusions I would like to make, this research in overall find that the nurses react positively to the usage of electronic medical records in the hospital. Nevertheless, there were a few who react negatively to this system. Further research have to be done to identify the factors that influence the nurses' attitude for improvement purposes. The nurses have also preference to documentation and clinical data entry with evidence preference towards type of data to be entered and according to comfort, privacy, and volume of computer in each respective wards. So stated by Kennan 1991, computers are here to stay and application of computers in the year 2000 onwards depends on what we do now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Marina. And what I could say actually.
Sorry, I can't hear you because the sound actually is little bit macam tak berapa dengar.
So we heard that you had some accident or something.
Yes.
Oh, what happened exactly? What happened exactly?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
From stairs or anything like that? Because you are here, right?
Yeah.
What happens actually to you?
Oh, actually, I've been injured. I have a saya jatuh tadi. I've been injured and then have an ankle swollen. It's very pain right now. Yeah, so maybe after this, I should go to the hospital because it's very huge swollen in my ankle.
Sorry to hear about that. Anyway, thank you very much for wearing your presentation. Yeah, even though.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Thank you.
But you'll still be able to present it, from your very own room. All right. Can we invite anyone at all here would like to ask any question? Anyone? Quiet. Okay, no one. So it is interesting here to have this, based on your data, that actually about 30%, nearly 30% have a very active practices on the So meaning that what is the target for the ministry? To have not the ministry or private university or hospital as well. That the target should be 100% by now. Do you think that the situation?
Okay, since this hospital actually is open with total HIS information systems 1990. So actually for the first 10 years, this hospital is running well, but because this is the only one hospital in 1990, so I think it's quite smooth. And then when other hospitals develop with the same systems, and then maybe this is a limitation, and then maybe because the government have to spend, a lot of equipment, a lot of computer, laptop, and also it's a very huge demands on the technical system support. So I think it's quite difficult for the government to support the systems 100%. Yeah, but actually we are going towards that. I think maybe in terms of this year, or I heard that the government tried to improve the system, to get more the laptop, the system, to give the convenience, to give convenience to the nurses and the doctors to do their documentations in the wards actually. So I don't think so they stop to give support. The government gives support. I think they will continue, but most probably because of budget, the cost. So but anyway, for us, for the nursing side, we encourage the nurses to gain more knowledge about this system and take a crucial part in the system itself actually, especially for the clinical document in the clinical data focus on nursing care.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Maria. Maria.
Thank you so much.
All right. Okay, thank you. Meet you again hopefully this afternoon. And shall we continue to the next presenter, Ms. Rohaini Mandi. Please.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and good morning. Because I'm too short, I can't stand behind the rostrum, so nobody can see me. If I talk like this, can you hear me? Then I go there. Okay, just a quick question before I start with my presentation. If you are planned for operation or doing surgery, how would you feel? Anxiety. Yes. Of course, there is also, the patient will also have that feeling. So this study is about perception of pre-operative education among post-operative patients in tertiary hospital in Malaysia. So this presentation, I just want to highlight because I have my team. So my co-author, my best friend from Indonesia there, Dr. Suryanto is there, and he will present half of the slide. So I start with the first 5 slides. So as we know, the pre-operative education is a critical aspect and part of nursing world. As a nurse, most of the time the nurse is with the patient, and this is the aspect that will improve their health outcome before they are going to surgery, and we have to give them information before the surgery to help them to gain the information, and one of it that Prof must translate to relieve or reduce their anxiety. So this study, from the literature review, however, we found that patient report insufficient data or information they receive, and in terms of management and recovery duration, and but we have a lot of number of surgery increasing in Malaysia every time, so that is very worrying. And a limited published study of pre-operative patient education from the patient perspective. And we think it is essential that we have to do and explore what is our patient perspective on this. So why is the pre-operative education is very important? From the study we have known that it can reduce the patient apprehension and anxiety, and increase the patient cooperation and participation in post-operative care. Of course, we have to tell the patient first before they go to operation, because after operation, the patient will have pain and they can't focus on whatever you talk to them. That's why we have important part 3. Then it decreases incidence and severity of post-operative complication. In other part is the positive outcome of the pre-operative education on patient outcome. For example, the length of stay, their anxiety, the knowledge level, their outcome, the pain, and surgical complications, and physical coping, behavior, and mobility. And patient will have independently discharge preparation. If they understand, and if the nurses or doctors give full information very precisely, of course they will able to empower themselves to take care of themselves when they are discharged home. Okay, this is a cross-sectional study. Okay. This is from UiTM this approval conducted in one of the surgery hospital in Selangor, Malaysia. If involved the 93 participants, there is a patient who admitted for surgery, and inclusion criteria is all patients admitted for elective surgery above 18 years old, all ethnicities and genders. Exclusion if the patient have critical ill, not alert, unconscious, and do not understand Malay or English. So we're using the pre-operative teaching questionnaire by Raby 1998 with 0.91 alpha. Okay, so in this instrument we have demographic characteristic. The session 2, the patient perception on importance of receiving an explanation before surgery, and the last part is the perception of pre-operative patient education. So for the next 5 finding, the conclusion and recommendation, I will pass to my dear friend Dr. Suyanto from Universiti Brawijaya, Indonesia.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Can you hear me, Ms. Nurhaini?
Yeah,
yes? Okay, good. Thank you very much. So again, thank you very much for the committee, the chair, and also Dr. Nurhaini Majid. I will continue the rest of the presentation, start with the findings. So the findings show that the majority of the 5 to 50 years old, which is 51%, and most of the patients involved in the study are female. And then, not surprisingly, that the ethnic group of the participants, majority, the 93% are Malay, and the small portion are Chinese and Indian. And in terms of the objective of this study, we have 2 objectives, which is the first one is patients' perceptions of the pre-operative education, and the second one is pre-operative education received by post-operative patients. The first result of the study is the patient perception of the pre-operative education. The majority of the participants mentioned that the pre-operative education is very important, which is 93.6%. and also important, 28.1%. However, small numbers of the participants of the studies mentions that somewhat important, and some of the participants also, which is less than 1%, mentioned that it is not important. It is interesting to know that the participants' perception about pre-operative education is not important. It is probably that the education provided by them, provided by the nurse, probably is not really, fulfill their expectation when they given the education by the nurses. And the second part of the findings is the pre-operative education received by post-operative patients. The majority of the participants mentioned that yes, they perceive they had the pre-operative education, which is 91.8%. And it was surprising for us that 18% of the participants mentioned that they did not receive the pre-operative education. It is quite interesting result because should be that the pre-operative education should be part of the peri-operative itself. So it is kind of like slide for us as nurses that wow, some of the patients perceive that they did not receive the pre-operative education. This is probably that the pre-operative education is not well informed to the patient, probably, yeah, because probably the nurses usually provide like suggestions or maybe like the thing that they have to do, that kind of things, and probably patient do not perceive that it is part of the pre-operative education itself. So it's quite interesting. And then from that result, we can discuss that in terms of patient perception regarding the pre-operative education, that as we know that post-operative patient perceive the importance of pre-operative education, that providing both oral presentation and written information is essential for pre-operative education, especially when they feel that they did not receive that pre-operative education. It means that we as a nurse need to have like structure, formulation, how to deliver the pre-operative education, not just give like suggestion in daily routine kind of things, but providing like certain times and also like well plan how to deliver the education. It is really essential so that patient can feel that okay, this is part of the education before they have the surgery. And that's therefore because nurses are mostly responsible for this education, so nurses should have like be skillful in communication. This is because education is used by communication. So it's really important how nurse can deliver the education in therapeutic communication. And even though the most patients receive pre-operative teaching, a small portion of the participants feel that stated that they did not receive the pre-operative teaching. It is important for us that we need to formalize a good and standardized pre-operative education, because pre-operative education is significant indicators of the quality of surgical patient care. It improves the outcomes of the patient post-operatively, it reduces the anxiety, it will be improve the outcome of the patient, it will be reduce the length of stay of the patient during the surgery. So a lot of beneficial will be got from the patient if we provide a good pre-operative education to the patient. And to conclude and recommendation, this study determines the perception among post-operative patients toward pre-operative education, which is good, even though small patient stated that they did not receive the pre-operative education. And as we as a nurse are majority responsible for the education surgery of the patient, we have a very significant role in providing education in surgical patient. And we must understand that patients are interested in pre-operative learning that is relevant to them. It is essential to have like, baseline data in terms of what they already know, and then we can fulfill what is the gap between what they already know and what they must know before they have the surgery. And also relatively further the study, it is essential to have like enhance the study into more robust research. For example, like the relationship between the perception of preoperative education and its relative factors could be investigated, including what is actually the effect of preoperative education in terms of like the patient satisfaction, for example, or the length of stay of the patient during the surgery. I think that's it, the overall of the our presentation. Before I close the presentation, I would like to acknowledge to thank to the pembiayaan iuran proceeding per indeks, Tabung Dana Kebencanaan Pendidikan, Universiti Teknologi MARA, the participants who participate and their spend time in this study, UITM for providing funded for this paper, and also thank you very much for the Universiti Teknologi MARA for involving me in this study. This is just one of our collaborative work between two universities, especially myself. So again, thank you very much for Dr. Nurhaini Majid and also all of the staff of the Universiti Teknologi MARA, especially in the Faculty of Health Sciences. Again, thank you very much. Back to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Suyanto.
And Nurhaini for very inspiring kind of presentation. So as usual, I would like to invite anyone who would like to ask a question about either over here and those outside this room as well. Anyone? Yeah. No. All right. As usual, it is my curiosity actually that kills the cat. Yeah. All right. You mentioned about education, pre-operative education. Is that the kind of thing that, because I myself actually experienced being operated, but very minor one, is it? So when you say education, is that different from being briefed or being informed about the operation itself?
Yeah, it's very different because if you have the Prof has explained, you are going to surgery, the minor surgery. I think normally the doctor will tell what is about the surgery itself, your condition, your disease. But on the pre-operative education, you should know that how you will feel if you pain, what you want to do, have to do, the complication you will have after the operation, and what are some of the exercise you need to do, what of the food you can eat or cannot eat. All is the nurses' part actually. The responsibility of the nurses. That's why I said the nurses' communication is very important, because if they don't give precisely, very completely information to the patient, so the patient would notice that they do not have any pre-op education. So that's why we get the 18.2%, where they mentioned they have no pre-operative education received before.
All right. Yes. Yeah. This question is on behalf of our audience, not as a chairperson. Okay. One of the things that I saw from the presentation, that there are also patients, or if not a patient or someone who actually mentioned that they don't need to have some kind of education. Did you actually find out who are they? Are they actually doctors or nurses or that were being part of the participants of your survey?
That is not really detailed, but I think some of it, because of the participant, is some of them are professors, doctors, because this is education hospital. Yeah, the tertiary hospital, because this is PPUITM. So in PPUITM, where the patient goes there is among our professors, our doctors, our lecturers. So maybe they have their own information, where the information is on their fingertips. Google online.
I think that needs to be mentioned somewhere. Region, so that
maybe because of that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
thank you, Prof. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, we have to move on to the next presenter. The next presenter is Dr. Siu Tuan. Yeah. Can you have Dr. Tuan?
Yeah, very good morning to all the audience and Chair Professor Dr. Masran. Today I would like to share my team of review on topic of myofascial release on pain and function in adult with low back pain. So myofascial here is a technique to address pain over the muscle and the fascia. What is a fascia? Fascia is our muscle fiber. Example of bicep is covered by a layer of whitish, we call it fascia. Okay, so whatever in pain, injury, this fascia will become inflamed and constrict, become like shortening. So background, who will get this non-specific low back pain? Usually our poor posture, especially especially in prolonged standing or prolonged sitting for more than 2 hours. So it may attribute to the shortening of this, we call it myofascial muscle. So one approach believe that this myofascia is a called postural change over our back of the body, starting from the back of the head until the tip of the toe, sole of the toes. So they call it either superficial back line, or here we address it as a postural change. So what happened to this if this prolonged sitting in back posture, like forward head posture, at the end this muscle will become shortening, okay, it become tightness, then it will affect the muscle contraction and flexibility of the muscle and increase muscle tension, so-called myofascial pain. So that all of us may have experienced prolonged sitting in computer work, you may have shoulder pain, so that's kind of myofascial pain. If this pain has not been addressed, okay, it will consequently it will lack of reduced flexibility. When if it is been addressed, it will become like never recover to the uninjured state of healthy tissue flexibility. Okay, so prevalence, as we know, prevalence of low back pain has been increasing year by year. Okay, so it also been pretty increased in future by 20%. So low back pain is also known as the primary cause, the main cause of years disability is that being reported in all age group in the global burden disease. So in view of that, we perceive that this issue can be solved by specific technique. Okay, it will be addressed myofascial pain using myofascial technique. Why myofascial technique? This is our aim of review. So update the evidence among healthy low back pain people. Okay, based on the literature review, there's a similar technique. Myofascial have been proved that it will modulate the pain cycle over the connective tissue, because myofascial pain is over the muscle and fascia. Okay, so it will modulate the pain cycle, modulate the elasticity, piezoelectric, and restore to optimal level of muscle fiber length. So it will increase, maximize the flexibility and reduce pain, so that it will improve the movement, in future will reduce functional disability. Literature review show that a lot of study on the athlete, healthy study or young adult, took with 2 minutes of cell myofascia, use the foam kind of toe along the muscle quadriceps anterior thigh. It will improve the flexibility over the posterior thigh. Okay, why is it happen? So this can be explained that our fascia continuity is from not even from posterior, but it related to especially lumbar region or the hip. Okay, so the explanation also been show that if you target the area of specific postural change, what we call postural change, I should show you what is postural change. Okay, looking at the the diagram, schematic diagram of a body, there is a line of so-called postural change. Okay, posterior change. It started from the back of the neck. So if treatment target any part of this line, it will reduce the pain over the other part of the body. Okay, so example, some people will study over the neck will show that if you address the neck pain, neck posterior line, it will reduce the low back pain. So with the 30 minutes, I mean just now is short effect, 30 minutes it will improve level of stress among 24 healthy study. This is done by Korea authors. So here we would like to address how about this effect on patient with low back pain. This is quite common, low back pain. Among us, we have what I call prolonged sedentary lifestyle, sitting, okay, especially lecturer during MCO pandemic COVID-19. So this research article using database from common like PubMed, Medline, Science Direct, and Springerling. We also include references from every article, relevant article. So we include this article from 2014 to 2021 July, okay, published in English language. Any study using single or combined technique using myofascial release. This myofascial release is different from what we know as a traditional massage. Okay, it's different. It will address the certain area and give some pressure. So the included article should be addressed outcome like flexibility, pain, functional disability, as well as level of stress among patients with non-specific low back pain. What we understand by non-specific low back pain is that means pain without any X-ratio with like fracture or deformity or abnormal shape or dysprolapse case. We grade it under non-specific low back pain, okay, without a specific source, medical source, okay. We exclude gray literature review like a newspaper published in book or abstract or paper presentation or e-book, okay. So the process is based on the standard usual systematic review. We use critical appraisal tools to critically analyze each article. So the findings show that out of 256, only 13 include in our review articles. Okay, so 13, sorry. Out of 13, there is 11 RCT. Sorry, this is a wrong figure. It's 11 randomized control trial and 2 quasi-experimental study. Quasi-experimental study means they don't have comparison group. Okay, even though this RCT is 11, but they are using different type of technique approach and different outcome measure. So we cannot use another higher level for this systematic review and meta-analysis. Okay, so the results show that this technique has been used across the country, like country Asia, especially India, Korea, Indonesia, Brazil, out of Asia, Brazil, Turkey, Spain, and Italy. So in view of objective level of pain and functional disability, that is almost not all the study except one address the level of stress pain, level of stress. The rest are show positive effect of myofascial release, either used alone or combined, okay, to address level of pain and disability. One study is only quasi-experimental, doing this on the elderly people. Okay, so these elderly people, they use elderly people with pain, with intestinal bowel problem. Okay, so these are the results. Either they use single or they use combined. May I know? I have 1 more minute or 1 more minute? Yeah. So in terms of usage, are they using single alone or combined? So one study compare myofascial release with correct pressure compared to shame. Shame means that they use very light pressure. It doesn't produce any physiological changes. So, but however, they show no change in pain intensity. Okay, so other study combine myofascial with others massage over the back, others modality like using hot back dance, the pain modality, or active exercise over others part of the trunk. So it show that positive effect. So the latest study use use myofascial with people know spinal manip is osteopath. Is there any different? So it show that myofascial and osteopath similar effect with the osteopath alone. Okay, and then another group in this similar author, they use myofascial with hip movement. Okay, add on hip movement and combine with spinal or manipulation compared to a group with only single spinal manipulation. It show that better effect. So why it can work? Okay, actually it show that for pain and disability, the fascia continuity has been stretched. So it will modulate the pain cycle and stimulate, the technique itself will stimulate mechanoreceptor. We call it, when you press, release mechanoreceptor, it will allow to reduce the muscle tension, joint tension, okay, to improve movement system. And also it will allow our nerve around the joint, we call it neuroreflection of muscle activation. When we are in pain, our muscle will automatically guarding, will never work well. Okay, others big muscle will take over tasks. That's why people may have spasm over others' body aspect. So using this, it will show that it will address joint muscle as well as muscle fascia. Okay, and it also improves the circulation over our lymphatic movement. Okay, or our lymphatic is over the proximal like shoulder, our groin. So people with low back pain who have prolonged sitting, your lymphatic circulation also will be influenced. Okay, will be slow. So in respect of level of stress, they reported that there's increased serotonin realization and the endorphin, who are similar to the exercise effect, happiness simulator secretion, and also it will improve the fascial restriction. I mean, when you have pain, the fascia will have a screen compared to our muscle. So it will relax this constriction and allow more flexibility. That's why improve pain disability. Okay, so based on the review result, it showed that myofascial with correct pressure, it will address the correct pressure. If address the line, the postural change line, will prove to be positive effect on pain and disability. But however, for level of stress, there is still a lot more to be explored. Okay, that's all of my presentation. Thanks.
Thank you. Great, Dr. Shaw.
Yeah.
And well, I would like to invite any questions or reflection or anything like that from the audience. Yeah, as well as those outside the room. No? All right. Okay, it's very much interesting. So this is a question from the chair. It's very interesting. So what is the next thing that you and your team plan or propose to do after this?
Yeah,
Other people that what they have done and what is your
so actually we have project run is the RCT randomized clinical trial already registered. Then we done using during pandemic COVID. We using a gym tennis ball to address sole of the foot. So with certain pressure and certain specific rhythm, they can roll it to address low back pain. And then we measure with this technique, is it work? We address the postural change of the body. So I think the data collection is almost complete except some healthy people, because our is using intervention versus the standard like hamstring stretch. So so maybe we are lacking of control group, I mean only hamstring stretch group. So because people may want a specific massage and exercise at home. So in clinical trial, somehow or rather we have sometimes have limited, some barrier of more challenge to recruit control group. This is
it means that the research is
Yes.
And any expected time when you can actually present
Yeah, maybe can ask her to join by the December. Maybe. Yeah. Okay.
All right. I think that
so it will help people with our group. Yeah, thanks. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, everybody. Please allow my to
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we have to move on to our last speaker. This is Moni. Yeah, indeed. Yes. And last speaker is from Dr. Hasan. Okay, Hasan Sabah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to Prof. Dr. Misran and Prof. Dr. Fatima and everyone. Welcome to our presentations. This presentation will co-author by Dr. Ninik from Indonesia. Are you there, Dr. Ninik?
Yeah, I'm here ready, Dr. Hasan. Can you hear me?
Okay. First of all, let me thank you all for coming here today. Yeah, I will tell you something interesting, something that will affect all of us. All of us have equal chance to get this condition or this disease, which is dementia. Okay, I'm Akisan Dahlan from Malaysia.
And I'm Ninik Hidayah from Indonesia.
Will present a study entitled The Effect of Cognitive Stimulation Therapy, Malaysian version CSTM, for older people with mild dementia. This presentation is structured as follows: background of the study, aim and objective, literature review, method, finding, discussion, and conclusion. This paper is also co-authored by geriatric specialists and also family medicine specialists. Okay, Malaysia will become an aging country by the year 2030, in which 60% of the population will consist of an older person. Okay, and we can prevent a lot of things, but one thing for sure that we can't avoid is getting old or being old or aging. You cannot avoid it. Okay, and aging is always associated with many health problems, such as physical problem, musculoskeletal impairment, depression, psychological condition, and so on. And cognitive function, deterioration in cognitive functions, And one of the most common causes of cognitive deterioration is dementia, or nyanyuk in Malaysia and pikun in Indonesia. The prevalence of dementia in Malaysia is currently about 14.3%. Almost 2 out of 10 person in Malaysia, older person, are having dementia. Dementia lead to many psychological implications, for the family members and for the older person, and treatment for medication for treatment for dementia divided into two. One is medication or pharmacological interventions. Another one is non-pharmacological intervention. Pharmacological intervention or drug lead to many side effects, such as giddiness, headache, and that lead to fall and another risk. But non-pharmacological intervention, for example, cognitive stimulation therapy provide a low risk, no effect, versatile, and clinically effective. For example, is cognitive stimulation therapy. Okay, so the aim and objective of the study is to determine the effect of cognitive stimulation therapy, Malaysian version, on cognitive function, which is 7 areas of cognitive function, namely thinking operation, orientation, perception, memory, praxis, attention, and visual motor organizations. Dr. Nini, can you tell us about what is CST and the effect of CST, please?
Okay, Dr. Akesan. As stated in the introduction, the CST was developed in the United Kingdom CST and is divided into 3 types of CST: group CST, individual, and maintenance CST. And CST consists of structured activities designed to stimulate cognitive function tapping into the cognitive reserve, and enhancing social interaction between the participants. Group CST was culturally adapted and conducted successfully in Australia, New Zealand, Indonesia, Taiwan, Japan, Italy, Thailand, Hong Kong, Singapore, India, Tanzania, and Nigeria. Previous randomized control studies and meta-analysis of randomized control studies indicate that the CST improved cognitive function, mood, quality of life, and decreased depression. And the effect can be maintained after 3 months. Furthermore, data from qualitative studies indicate that the group CST improves social interaction, interconnection, happiness, sense of togetherness, and enrichment. Today, CST is the best non-pharmacological intervention to improve cognition among older persons with mild and moderate dementia. Next, methodology, Dr. Ahkesan, please.
Okay, for the methodology, the study design, experimental study was conducted, pre and post test with control group. The study was conducted at the public elderly institutions. The inclusion and exclusion criteria are as shown in the slides, and based on the prior method of G-power calculations, a sample size of 48 was sufficient to test the hypothesis. Participants were randomly assigned into control and experimental group using random allocation software, and data was analyzed using SPSS. LOTCA-G, that is Lowenstein Occupational Therapy Cognitive Assessment geriatric version, was used to determine the cognitive functions. LOTCA-G, it consists of 23 subtests in 7 cognitive. Okay, the LOTCA-G, Lowenstein Occupational Therapy Assessment geriatric version was used to evaluate the 7 areas of cognitive function, namely orientation, perception, memory, and thinking ability. Participants in the experimental group will receive the Malaysian versions of CST that was granted permissions to adapt it and validate it into Malaysian version using the FMAP model as suggested by the author. The CST was conducted 14 sessions, 45 to 16 minutes per session, 2 times per week for 7 weeks. And each group, there are 14 sessions, and each group consists of specific teams, and there are 2 facilitators conducting the CSTM. The control group received a standard intervention for cognition, for example, relative orientation, reminiscence therapy, and also cognitive training. So the result indicates there's no significant differences between groups, which means that the both groups are comparable, and there are 24 participants in the experimental group, and there are 24 participants in the control group. And the result using LOTCA-G indicate there's significant differences for participation in the experimental group compared to the control group, and in 6 domains of cognitive functions with effect size ranging from medium to large, especially in the orientation, perception, visual motor organization, thinking operation, memory, attention, and concentration. However, there's no significant differences between control group and experimental group in the praxis subcomponent of cognitions. Okay, discussion. The adapted versions of CST program improve most component in operation, visual motor organization, and memory among all the people in the experimental group compared to the control group. And this is aligned with previous study conducted in many other countries, to improve cognitions among all the people. And we postulate that this could be as a result of enriched environment or activity in the CST which provide enriched environment and sensory stimulation with induced hippocampal neurogenesis, development of new neuron, increase in synaptic plasticity, an increase in alpha wave and decreased cortisol, stress hormone during engagement in this activity, 14 session activity. However, there's no significant differences in the praxis area of cognitions. This could be due to the sample itself. Sample consists of mild dementia. Normally, people with mild dementia does not affect praxis or praxis subcomponent in cognitive function. Okay, in conclusion, it is recommended that CSTM is conducted as standard non-pharmacological intervention for people with dementia, especially mild dementia. There are several limitations of the study. One is the participant is all the participant are in the institutions and also for mild dementia only. So, for the study could be conducted in for older people with dementia, mild or moderate dementia in community. References. And thank you and acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge all participants and all the occupational therapists in the CST team Malaysia, especially from various hospitals, and special thanks to the geriatric specialists and family medicine specialists. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Yeah, we have listened from Dr. Ishan.
Thank you.
Any question from the audience over here, as well as those outside here? Any question? Well, as usual, I would like to ask. I really forgetful now. What is the
reason?
The thing I want to ask you? All right. Yeah. What was the question? Okay. What is that?
That's interesting.
From Ninik, Hidayah.
Yeah, Ninik.
From where?
Indonesia.
From Indonesia.
Surakarta Polytechnic, Indonesia. Dr. Nini, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. So, whereabout is it in Indonesia? Whereabout is it in Indonesia? Jakarta?
Surakarta.
Surakarta. Surakarta is all right. My question is to any one of you, Nini or Iksan, what is the recommended age that will be tested with CST? Is there any particular age or duration?
Okay.
Or not duration. The time when you
okay.
actually in class any
CST.
or any person. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sure, Prof. Thank you for the questions, Prof. Yes, dementia always affected older people starting age of 60. But everybody have equal chance to get dementia, actually. Yeah, as long as you have brain, you have the potential to get dementia. The question is when? Either age 60, age 70, or age 90. So the question is when we going to get dementia. It depends. Depends on the accumulation of plaque and neurofibrillary tangle in the brain. Some people may have dementia, but they use cognitive reserve as a method to complement forgetfulness too. All right. So age 60, all older people should be screened. Whether they have cognitive impairment or not. Benchmarknya is 16. If they are using some cognitive impairment test, either question-based answer ataupun or MRI. Any symptom? Oh, there's a lot. There's a lot, yeah. Depend on stages of dementia, Prof. Kalau stage 1, I know. Don't worry, you are not. I'm sure you are not in that category. Dementia is forgetfulness, definitely forgetfulness that affect your daily functions. Yeah. For example, if we forget what we had breakfast today, or forget where we put our glasses, that is not dementia. because we tend to do things without concentration. But if you put, you remember, I put my glasses here, but 5 minutes later you ask where are your glasses, you have to be screened for dementia. But if you forget something, but later you sit down and think, where are the things that I put? Then you remember, you found again, that is not dementia, that is normal deterioration in cognitive function. So don't worry. Okay?
Of course, there's a lot of questions that can be asked on
Sure, bro.
all the things of so what your findings to be shared with us. I think over here, not so many questions, perhaps because most of you did not qualify.
Not yet, bro.
that you have already mentioned. Okay? I think it's very interesting indeed, yeah, to have listen to all the presenters, yeah, not only Dr. Aishan. First of all, yeah, we have to thank Dr. Aishan for giving us a very stimulating presentation. Lisandro, can we put a round of applause to Aishan?
Thank you, bro. Thank you all.
Yes, to everyone here. And I think it's very short time, yeah, and we will feel, the time is really very short of hours over here. And to everyone, can we give a round of applause to everyone who's already very, very interesting and indeed it's an excellent presentation, yeah. And for those who are not here, actually, there are about 16, yeah, 16 people actually out there, yeah, actually virtually with us this morning. Yeah, thank you very much for listening to us. And when we come to the end of